Looks good. Probably should have brought this up on my other screen already. Okay. Looks good. Alright. So, while I'm waiting for people to get in to the stream, today I'm going to be working a bit on tier 3. On a second. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're 2 stories up. So I'm going to kind of really roughly kind of play around with potential way we can set up parts of this. I doubt this would be anything finalized, but just kind of playing around with that a bit. Today, or yesterday and today, I kind of worked on these buildings, which I'll show in a bit. And I'll kind of show off a little bit more of kind of what I've been doing over the weekend as people start to pop into the stream, so I'm not redoing it every couple seconds. But while I'm waiting, so Goblin and I had this idea. Well, Goblin, I guess, had the idea of kind of entering the city, or entering the top tier of the city, kind of on this, like elevated, and then kind of walking down into it and paths and stuff like that. Lots of paths, and then the house is kind of on either pedestals or stuff like that, inside the tier. So we were kind of talking over the weekend, trying to figure out how we wanted to do that, and I came up with the idea of raising this entrance level up and changing this so this kind of plateaus out. This slants up to the plateau, and then building kind of like a drawbridge or something like that. Now, we haven't necessarily concepted out what the drawbridges or any of the bridge systems in this city are going to look like, whether it's the like functional new ones, or if it's the kind of broken, ruined one over here, which this needs to... Oh, no, hold on. I was judging that off the wrong thing. They look about straight. I'll fix that at some point, if they're not. But for now, I need to kind of play around with this geo over here to get this to work better, because this was not the initial idea for this. So, I'm going to... I'll just bring this up. Might as well just bring it up as high as it needs to go. About there. Let's delete this one. I can see it. And now... bring these up. Oops. Still keep going back to the button presses, but I know all the hotkeys now, so I may as well use them. It definitely makes it quicker. And just delete these. And actually, before this stops, let me get the looping on. So if anybody hasn't heard this, these are some of the songs that Robert's done for the game so far. Is this, hold on a second, is this like paper thin? No, it's a meter. Let's grab all of these. And I'll move them up against that wall. Oop, I apparently unselected those. Although I'm sure I'm gonna have to do something right there with that. The heck? This up. This might actually end up working better in the end, not just because we wanted to achieve that one thing, but the amount of space that I had here was not really working with the slope that I had initially. Took a little bit to kind of get it to be somewhat passable, which is kind of where I would put it, where it was before we started doing this on the stream. Alright. Oops. Let's move these. Okay. So move this up. Now, one other thing I'm going to have to figure out is, let me just apply the material to it. I'll just have that open up my material, or my UV editor, in the other window. Let's grab these faces, and then I'm just going to group them together. So, at least for now, the, oops. I can't remember, did I use this 312? Yeah, that looks about the right scale. So there is one problem that I'm gonna have to solve, and that's gonna be how, like, if a player misses this, and runs off the bridge or something like that, how do I give them an area to get back? So, gotta figure that out. Either giving them a kind of ramp down here, or kind of a hole through there, something like that. Maybe a subtle ramp down there. We'll play around with it a little bit. That is going to be raised up. And I don't know how big initial area. Do I have a face over here? Yes, I do. Okay, so let's bring this into the wall at least. Like so, and we'll delete those. And delete that. Okay. So I'm going to have to figure out how this transition is going to go, but I want to finish this area first. This gap a little bit bigger. Something like that. And for now, again, we're not using anything in particular for our bridges. I'm just going to keep it consistent and duplicate this, and then we'll just scale it. So I did a bunch of stuff with the terrain, which I'll show off in a bit as well. But I changed the flow of a couple places just a bit, added some stuff, made some more edits. If you guys watched Sean's stream, was it Thursday? I think Thursday was when we did the kind of impromptu group stream, since we were in a meeting. Oops. But that one we kind of did some just adjustments to the city in general. So let's take a look at this. Not centered. And that is not what I wanted to select. There we go. And move that there. Like that. I'll just honestly move this and this and just combine them. I think that works. And we'll move this over here. Something like that. So, again, we've done a bunch of edits to the overall terrain, and kind of the flow. Like I said, me and Goblin kind of had a meeting where we were talking about some stuff. And you can see there was some towers. So there used to be a wall here and a wall that kind of went all the way around. And we've taken that out to give ourselves more room and made these new houses. Although this one actually needs to get deleted. So I made this one yesterday, I believe. Yeah, yesterday. But we kind of felt it was a little too smooth, so we decided to try a slightly chunkier, lower poly version. Not that this one's super high poly, but you know, the door essentially stayed the same. It was just kind of taking some of the detail out of the top and some of the roundness out of the bottom. So just a little bit. And then we've got 2 variations of it. So the second floor, this one, the players, you know, head kind of comes up to here. And then this one, you can kind of walk up and get a nice little view out the window on this little platform. And then this one's got a nice little balcony. Let's see. MS Eagle? Art. These are very cool. Love the balcony. Thank you. Yeah, these are welcome to chat, first off. You can see that you're new to chat. These were based off of concepts that our concept artist had done, I don't know, 2 months ago probably now. So kind of working on those. I had to play with this one and this one are essentially the same size, even though it's a little bit different here. So I might do some scale differences between the 2 of them, but right now they work pretty well with our camera. I can actually, more people have popped into chat, so let's take a look at them in game. Up into my human character. So you can see the scale of them. Got a nice little curved one up here. And then Sean and I were kind of running around in here earlier, and he was asking about, you know, do we want these as windows or do we want these kind of more like as skylights? So I figured, well, we both figured that we could do it as like a variation. So this one's got it more as a window, so you kind of walk up and watch the sunset or sunrise depending on the direction that these are facing. And run up here. Get a nice view of the sunset with the balcony. That looks pretty cool. So at some point I'm probably going to be, you know, trying to frame some of these balconies and stuff to get nice views of sunrises or sunsets. Don't know how much we're going to have them peeking up over, but maybe even peeking up over and kind of seeing down onto the city a little bit could be cool. I don't know for sure if we're planning on using these as player housing in Tier 3, but I think that's the idea, is there's going to be some player housing in Tier 3. So, potential houses that people could buy. And then these are, Goblin and I were kind of talking about what these could be. And right now they're just kind of spires that you can kind of walk through as decorative sculptural elements. But I guess we could do like ladders down into structures or something like that if we decide to. What kind of blue material is that? Like a solid blue stone? Right now, this is completely placeholder. All of the materials on this are seriously just thrown on here right now. The material will more than likely be more like this, so it'd have kind of almost like vertical ridges kind of running up, and then kind of some like right now they're dots, but it, you know, be more intricate kind of trims that are run around here. And actually some of the spots, I kind of did a real quick layout of the UVs. Some of the spots are broken up for like trims and stuff like that. But the materials would definitely change. So the material itself is just this oh, hold on, I have them hidden from the old version. This kind of loam adobe look that we had on this one, all I did was I desaturated it. So I bring one in here, desaturated it, and then I could just Let me probabilize this one. I could just dump whatever vector color I want onto it now. So, just, you know, temporary to kind of get the visual of it while we iterate and kind of play off and build out materials that we want to use in production. But it works pretty well for just kind of getting the idea of what it's supposed to look like. You see, it looks really cool. Cool choice of colors. Yeah, I wasn't sure initially when Goblin started doing this painting. I was actually watching him when he was doing it, and I was like, I don't know how blue it's gonna work, but as he just kept building it out, it really is kind of a nice contrast between, you know, what's mostly kind of this, you know, kind of rusty tan beigeish color that'll, you know, take up a lot of this. And let me see. So we'll probably have in the back behind this, between the river and the main temple complex, will be more dirty buildings, because it's kind of the poorer, kind of sketchier area of Night Harbor. And then that kind of tapers up into this side over here. And then this area and this area are going to essentially, or actually no, we changed it. So this area and this area will be more brightly painted, but more, you know, still more muted. And, you know, some beiges and things like that mixed with blues and cloth, like draped cloth is a pretty big theme in this place. There's gonna be a lot of like sails and stuff like that for catching wind and kind of cooling stuff off. And then when you get up here, it's gonna be a lot of those really deep blues and more lush greenery and stuff like that. There's gonna be some hanging gardens and stuff going on down here in our park, but you know, this is kind of the more elite of the city, and then this is kind of, you know, the more middle class of the city, and then over here is going to be kind of more of the poor, kind of sketchier area of the city, and then over here is going to be more of like the travelers, so inns and tents and things like that, and then this is going to be kind of, you know, markets and governmental buildings and stuff like that. Perfect contrast while not being too invasive to the environment overall. The blue kind of reminds me of the Babylon Gate in terms of color. Yeah, it does. It really does kind of give that kind of Babylon feel, for sure. I'm not sure. I didn't actually ask Goblin if that was what he was thinking about when he chose that color or not, but I wouldn't be too surprised. No, I'm going to leave that there. I may end up having to shift this back just to give this a little bit more room to breathe, but we'll see. So, besides that, I guess I can give you guys a tour, kind of some of the stuff I did. So I kind of cleaned up this flow a little bit, and gave this area an actual gate, kind of based off of the gate that Goblin had kind of designed for over here. And then instead of the bridge kind of gapping over here, I just kind of changed the terrain a little bit to make it cut across here, and then also made this more of a ridge line so you can't jump up. Before, you could just kind of walk up here. So to get up here, you still kind of got to come up over here, and you get a nice view of the necropolis or the park, depending on which direction you look. And then, obviously, you know, actually inset this and inset this. Cleaned up the shoreline a lot. Kind of put in this ridge line that we've been talking about. And Goblin was talking about some of these buildings potentially built out of the cliffs as we go along the edge. So I built one in real quick. The materials, again, are all kind of placeholdery right now. And then we had talked about on stream last week, the Lighthouse had been over here. And again, this is super placeholdery. We haven't actually designed what that's going to look like. But we decided it would be a good idea to move all the way back here. Kind of our establishing shot of the city was kind of lacking stuff going on right in here, because you have this tower and you have this. And there's probably going to be some more stuff kind of sticking up with those spires and stuff. And then you kind of got this tower over here from the garrison. But this area was super, there was just nothing going on. So I raised that up on a kind of craggy cliff. So, oh, something happened to my material here. Let's fix that. And I close my editor. And I think I had this at 325. Is it 325? No, sorry, 312. There we go. So yeah, kind of played with that a bit, and apparently this one got bumped too. So let's fix that. Better. So yeah, now we'll be able to either have a little ferry that kind of comes across, or maybe do a bridge. I think I might, especially if we do the ferry, I might move it more kind of into this range, so that the gap between the shore and the island itself is not so so small. Kind of put it more in the middle, I think. But yeah, we can walk up there. There's room if we wanted to tuck, I don't know, like a cave or something back here or something like that if we decided that's what we wanted to do. But there's enough little space that if we want to turn that into gameplay, we can. Sick dude. Love this idea. Awesome. So yeah, that was kind of what I did, and then, kind of built out this ledge and pulled out this terrace kind of area that Goblin had done in this image, and kind of tucked these areas over here. Oh yeah, one thing I want to do that I haven't done yet is, I think this area feels too tight. Ooh, I don't have a way out. Let's move this and save. Hey Regis, how you doing? I am doing pretty good. Just kind of working a little bit on getting the entrance into tier 3 figured out. But I want to show you guys this before I make that one change and why it's happening. I actually meant to do this time set. Let's do 6 a.m. so we have a little bit of dusk or dawn. So I did these these new buildings that I was just showing off. Let's give ourselves a run speed buff, and let's cheat and use GM speed. So yeah, I need to figure out something to do if players fall down there, because if a low-level player falls down there right now, they're totally gonna die from fall damage, or maybe not. It might not be enough to kill you. I can throw the rogue off later and see how that goes. But actually, hold on, I don't have to run all the way down there. There's also a new little ramp over here I forgot about. The problem down here is, there's definitely room for buildings over here and kind of over here, but it just feels really really compact compared to the rest of the zone. So I think kind of going off of that little inset thing we've got going on. Let me just try not to kill myself. Oh shoot, I may have got myself stuck down here. Alright. Helps having the old Geo still floating around in areas. But yeah, these little like recess areas, I think kind of pulling those up into there can give us a little bit more room. And the tiering is done in a way that it still, I think, has enough room. I did a couple adjustments to it when me and Goblin were talking, but I don't think what is going on there? Oh, that's old Geo. But let me move over here. We'll log out. And then we will go back into Night Harbor. And we have a little bit of space now. Kind of tuck these back. So let me see, like 5 by 5 is kind of what I'm going for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4. Need one more. Actually, no. Let's do this as a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I'm gonna play around with this idea real quick. Again, I guess I technically lied. I said tier 3 in the description, and here I am working on a part of tier 2. But we'll go back to tier 3 in a bit. Ooh. How's everybody else doing tonight? I don't want to go too far back. There we go. Okay, let's see how that feels. I don't want to make this too big. Oops, I don't want to do that. I want to just save. And we'll open up the zone. So that gives enough area to kind of put some houses on here, or in here, just kind of give it a little bit more room to breathe. So tier 2 can have a couple, you know, it doesn't just need this one path. It could potentially have other paths and kind of, you know, back alley type thing. Scale might adjust. I might bring this down a little bit. Or maybe bring, no, I couldn't bring that up too much. But it could potentially be brought up a little bit. The problem is if I bring it up too much, it's gonna crash into the bottom of tier 3. But have a little bit more space to kind of breathe. Could even kind of build this into a building itself, or buildings kind of like those carved-in buildings. So this could probably actually become narrower, and then this structure right there could actually have some stuff going on in it. You folks have an ETA on when you want the new Night Harbor in game? There's tentative ones that I'm not going to share. But it's already, I believe it's all hooked up. You can zone in. I don't know if the zone line from Shaded Dunes is actually there yet. I don't think it is. I've just been so busy actually working in the zone. I haven't really been playtesting the rest of the space. Well, last week was midterms week at work, so I was slammed as it was. But this weekend and stuff, I've just been pretty much running around in here. So there's at least zoning in commands currently. But my guess is we'll probably hook it up once there's kind of like a generic like amount of space. Maybe everything won't be 100% blocked in. But I think Sean and Nick are also going to be helping out with some of the blockout stuff, just because this zone is gigantic. I mean, in itself, like, you know, like this space right here is like one Freeport. Probably more buildings than one Freeport. But, and then, you know, we've got this space over here. And then, you know, that area up there. So each of these little spaces could almost be a zone in itself. So it is a really, really big zone. And then we've got more stuff that, you know, we want to do some stuff back in here. And, the, you know, temple area up there is more than likely going to end up being its own zone, would be my guess. But don't quote me on that. And then we might have a couple other zones that kind of come off in the necropolis and I don't know, maybe in the garrison or something like that. So there's gonna be dungeons and stuff built off of this space for sure. Dungeons and just other zones or you know, things like that. So tentatively yes, but not one that I believe we are willing to publicly announce, or at least I'm not willing to publicly announce currently. Working on ZBrush and Painter. Nice. What you working on? Anything fun? How much of the overhead is HDRP for you guys? Like on the CPU, I'm guessing you guys are cool with it. I don't know the exact percentage of stuff, but we are using HDRP. Ali would be the one to kind of ask more about where everything is going for optimization. He's been in the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks, has been doing optimization passes every so often as we added in characters and added in armor, and you know, the ability to like remove pieces of armor and have them tinted and stuff like that. Did a pass on that then, and he's been doing some networking stuff behind the scenes with kind of more stress testing with more clients and stuff like that. So I think he's doing another optimization pass as well. But yeah, I don't know the exact percentages on that Axion Studios. Not my expertise on divvying out where all the resources are baked and all that. Baked and compiled and down-resed and all that fun stuff. Fair enough. Our project is an MMO and HDRP, quite a ride. And yeah, cool to hear you guys. You've got a guy who knows his stuff. Yeah, he definitely Ali knows his stuff. He's done some impressive optimization passes before. When we got the armor in, it initially was fairly chuggy, and then he got it working pretty quickly, which was awesome. Okay. But again, yeah, that's definitely not why I'm on the team. I'm pretty sure I would have melted everybody's CPU if I had to deal with that at this point. Okay, so how do we want to do this? I don't know if we want to have like a larger area over here. I love level design for this map. Lots of paths going on. Oh yeah, definitely. And there's gonna be a ton of paths, you know, kind of winding around in this. So we'll probably have some like sprawly type things in here. A bit in here, but I think we also want some more of like the some more like the arcane, like caster class, like schools and stuff essentially up in this area. I believe this might be one. Again, this is super roughed in geo at the moment. There's going to be a little bit of sprawl going on over here. There's going to be, you know, warehouses and stuff going on in this area. Some sprawl over here, and then a ton of sprawl in here. We did a little, if you watch Sean's stream on Thursday, we did a real kind of just rough copy and just randomly throwing blocks around. And even that, with literally zero thought process besides copy paste, and then like randomly moving stuff around, it had a really nice feel in some spots. And it worked really well because you had like this kind of looming over you as kind of a way of kind of, you know, a place mark, a point of interest to kind of keep you locked in. And this was much lower to the ground, but you also had that lighthouse, and it was kind of over here more. So it was really easy to kind of tell where you were, but then, you know, you'd get into certain areas and the line of sight would really narrow in on you, and it got really claustrophobic, but still enough space, like, play-wise. And that was, again, completely randomly done, so it's good. Definitely going to be a fun zone to work on that kind of stuff, but at the same time, it's going to be a time-consuming zone, I'm sure. But like I said, I've already been basically I have been in this zone pretty solidly for 2 weeks now, even though 1 week of that was not like me doing a ton of work on it, just because I had midterms at work. Are you using hold on a second, I skipped one. BDC Retro, when I asked earlier about the new Night Harbor zone, I guess I was wondering if you were thinking about dropping in NPCs sooner. Oh, if you're talking about NPCs, Nick has already started populating this area, the newbie zone. And I need to actually... I want to play a little bit with this, but I do need to transition and kind of start adding some stuff over here so that there's actual, like, refined shoreline. Because right now it's, you know, not very refined. Like, this part just kind of flattens out, which is not correct. I really neglected this area. So this area needs to get cleaned up. And then, actually, let's delete that. That's not needed anymore. Forgot that was even out there. We have a pass on the newbie dungeon we want to put over here, which is I'm super excited to get to building, because that's going to be a lot of fun. Based off, Ham did a really cool write-up on that one, so I'm super psyched to get to that and kind of build out that newbie yard experience. But yeah, BDC Retro, next time I'm in the game, remind me. I can run over there and show you. There are some NPCs in the newbie yard area, at least. I don't know if there's been stuff added over here. I haven't been over in the garrison area in a bit. Let's see. You are using Unity terrain, but it's covered. You know how to Pro Builder quite well. I like the stuff you made out of it. Blender. Yeah, Blender who? Yeah, so all this terrain is actually just Pro Builder mesh that I've been slowly adding tessellation where it needs it. I don't think I'm going to need that much more out here. Or I guess I need a little bit more over here, and then it's going to kind of just drop off. My plan is, once we rework Shaded Dunes, is to take the Shaded Dunes mesh and probably bring it into Maya and decimate it enough that it's not going to be its full poly count, especially further away. And then just kind of drop it in here. So, you know, you visually can see Shaded Dunes, just not as resource heavy. Same thing with the desert zone that's going to be kind of running along the river. That one will be same type of thing. You know, kind of copied in here at a lower resolution. And I think we're planning on using imposters, so a lot of like trees and stuff like that will all be imposters by that point. But yeah, so I opted for the ability to cut holes and kind of, you know, snap things and move it sideways, and not have only, you know, being able to push up and down, which is typical of just normal terrain. Oh, at least in Unreal. I haven't done a ton of terrain in Unity. God, it's probably been 6 or 7 years. I'm gonna say 6 years. No, it's got to be 7 years now. Jesus. Since I was on a project that I last used terrain in Unity. So there might be something that I'm not aware of, but I opted for that over having some of the tools that like terrain, like flattening and stuff like that. But yeah, Pro Builder's been pretty helpful for the most part. These were made in Maya. I tried making them in Pro Builder, but it was just way easier to build these in Maya. I can grab them as the full object, but yeah, so these buildings are all just 100% Maya. This was too, but only because I wanted it to be the same shape as this. I could have probably built this in Pro Builder, but I don't have the ability to like slide, and I hate using booleans, but I boolean that out just to make it easier. But yeah, so Pro Builder's been pretty useful, especially considering I've never used it before. This project, the last time I used Unity, Pro Builder, if it was around, it wasn't in it wasn't part of the it wasn't owned by Unity or like part of Unity at that point. So let's play around with this. 5Z8. Oop, not 80. And I'm doing it in the right spot. 8. Pretty good. Flip this around. So here's the thing I'm wondering about with this. Oops. Snap that by there. Is probably going to want these to be narrower paths. Although some of these paths in these images look a little bit larger. Let me bring up. So there's going to be some more narrow paths. So these are probably going to be like 4-meter wide paths. I don't want to get them too narrow. This one's definitely larger. The stairs, though. Do I want the stairs to be that large? And granted, this stairwell might not even be that particular one. Let's see. Just wondering on some of the powder textures right now. Nothing looks exciting. Yeah, the textures are all going to be touched up. I think Goblin wants to do a pass on some of them. So there's definitely going to be some texture work. We'd been putting it off a little bit because we were trying to figure out what the city was so we can make a list of all the materials that we're going to need, which is something that we need to kind of sit down and figure out. What are all the materials for this zone going to be? Let's bring this over here. And then do this. Okay. We'll see how that looks. But yeah, no, that's definitely something that that will be addressed. Right now, it's more about getting the level, or the zone design and the zone flow down, and then we'll be focusing more on making it look pretty. So new materials, and then after that, you know, more meshes, more set dressings, that type of thing. Works. My idea behind these paths is going to be to do them probably like this, obviously with Pro Builder, and then probably, since they're so curved, where did my image go? Oh, I closed it. Oops, did not want to open Task Manager. Close you. Since there's gonna be a lot of curves and a lot of arches and stuff like that, I may consider just doing kind of a rough, kind of where the angles are gonna be, and then bringing it into laying out the UVs and then bringing in the mesh to Maya, and then add like subtle bevels to kind of round them out a little bit. But if it looks really good, if it looks right in here, I might just keep it in Pro Builder, because I've been able to do, and I closed it again, more with Pro Builder for the most part than I thought I was going to be able to. My biggest issue with these guys was the domes in Pro Builder are garbage. They don't have a hemisphere. Like the edges don't go, the edge loops don't run across the like center like perfectly, so you can't like break them in half. So I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna try to force those polygons into the correct spot. Hey Lord Sacrum, how you doing? PDC Retro, the wall there is going to be like separate between the newbie yard and the zone line for shaded dunes. Yeah, so right now these are super temporary meshes. They need to be, you know, I need to actually make meshes. I just mirrored 2 meshes into each other, just as a placeholder. So those are going to be new. There'll be new cliff sides over here. These I need to get more variation. We kind of like the style, but there needs to be more variation. And also, right now it's just got sand in here. my idea for that is more of kind of like a broken up like scree, like slopes, kind of like crumbly rocks and stuff like that, that kind of match this. So we need to make that texture at some point. So yeah, this will give you one zone line to shaded dunes, and then there'll be another zone line to shaded dunes kind of along the beach, the shoreline of the beach. And then there's going to be a newbie dungeon over here, like I was mentioning, that we just kind of got lore for, which is going to be super fun to build. And there's been talk of potentially another zone or like dungeon-y thing potentially over here, but it may be in shaded dunes. But this one definitely is happening, for sure. So oh, just a mess. Nice. I'm so curious on the performance with Unity terrain versus the mesh. Yeah, we haven't tried Unity terrain. I'm imagining Unity terrain is probably going to be slightly better performance, just because it does that, or I believe it does auto LOD. I know Unreal's does. Again, I'm more of an Unreal artist than a Unity one. But I know that one would kind of like auto tessellate as it goes back. So we don't have that, which, you know, I guess is a slight bit of a performance hit, but you know, if it's one of those things that we really do need it, we can always convert over. But so far we haven't had issues with that. What color is or what color it will have? Black like before. For what, Lord Sacrum? I'm not sure what you were talking about for the color. I got behind on the chats there, so I apologize. Have you guys the walls? No. So the idea, and Goblin is going to take a stab at the material. Where is? Let me see if it's in any of these ones that I can actually show. So there's this kind of wavy rock pattern that is representative of structures that have been in Night Harbor for a while. They're actually left over from the previous civilization. And there's going to be more of the type of structure stuff down there. But a lot of these, I believe, are going to be that as a base. And then there's going to be more modern like brickwork that is on top. That's going to have more colors, more, you know, more like trims and decorative elements to them. And then more like, you know, grime and chipping and stuff like that kind of over here in the bends, which is the back area. So over in this area. And then up here is going to be, you know, more of this blue stone that's going to have, you know, more of this kind of edged rims that kind of run up and along, and it, you know, have the little subtle curves, and then kind of, you know, decorative trims and stuff that are on it as well. So that kind of stuff. And I imagine on the inside we'll have some, you know, like decorations and stuff like that running along the trims and stuff. We just have to actually sit down and build those textures out. So that's kind of the idea for that. And then some of the newer structures might be made of you know, this kind of wavy stonework idea, but kind of like more like bricks as opposed to kind of natural just stone. And the idea being kind of like the Great Pyramids have pretty much, you know, the Great Pyramid of Giza has pretty much been stripped of its outer coating. So some of you know, the older things have been kind of like quarried up a bit to provide rocks for some of the newer areas. Down here is also going to be a lot more. Where is it? I don't have the other. Oh, I do. I lied. So this area is going to be like the Fisherman's Wharf, so there's going to be a lot more wood, and kind of docks and wooden structures, kind of playing off of some of these structures over here that are kind of carved into the side. And then more like ship parts and stuff like that that are kind of, you know, holding stuff together and stuff like that. So that's kind of the ideas for it. Oh, that looks so cool. Awesome. It will look so alive if the Tem move with the wind. Oh, if they move with the wind. We've talked about that. We are probably going to try to do like bake a simulation of like light breeze on some of the sails and fabrics, so they have a subtle movement normally, and then kind of a more intense wind for when like there's like a sandstorm for one of our weather, or this area will have, you know, as a weather effect like sandstorms. So there'll be 2 of those. We haven't done it yet, but that's kind of like what we want to get to eventually. So kind of walk in here. I need to bring up that image again. And that's covering it, which I didn't want. Let's bring this over here. And kind of this curve. And right now, again, I'm just kind of roughing this in, so this might not all work 100%. One thing I do know is there needs to be a square over here, which this might need more room to breathe. So maybe this comes over here more. And again, this is just this is going to be pretty rough to begin with. I'm just trying to see if I can capture the feeling of the concept a bit. And then we'll iterate from there. So let's add it in. This helps if I am snapping to proper grid. Oops, I thought I had that whole thing selected. So again, these would potentially be beveled and stuff as well. Although they could be potentially straight. Again, just kind of looking off some of these smaller ads and stuff like that. And then these would essentially these would have some of these kind of archways under here. I may even consider pushing this down a bit. But I also mentioned bringing this tier down a pinch. Because it did feel kind of big when we were running down there earlier. So let's... bring it down another level. So some of these areas may actually kind of drop down in areas just to kind of play with some more verticality to it. But again, kind of playing with this for now. I don't know how all of this is gonna work. It's all kind of happening live, so the joys of live development. Looks close. Okay. Let's put some of these, see how this works. See, I'm also probably going to have to make some variations on these houses with potentially doorways that are, you know, in the front and going out the sides or going out the backs, so the houses can potentially, you know, be entered and exited from multiple spots as well. But again, this was kind of a test to see if, or to see how we wanted these to work. And Zombie just raided again. How you guys doing? Hey, and Zombie. How are you doing tonight? Oop, and I need way more room. This building's larger than I thought. Alright. We're gonna give ourselves just a bit more room. So let me grab these walls. This is a raid. Kindly put your memes in the bag. Doing well, bud. How are you doing today? Doing pretty well. My vacation, or I guess not really vacation, but spring vacation at work, spring break at work, started this week, so got a little bit more time to work on the game after a hectic midterm week. And got a bunch of work done and just kind of playing around with some of these buildings from this area that we're working on up at the top of the city. Trying to see how they kind of feel. Yep. That's what my plan for vacation is. More game dev time. Which is actually good. I have a lot of fun doing this kind of stuff. So, just kind of working on that. How about you? Been up to anything since the last time? Probably a week or two ago that you popped in here. You understand that too much? For everybody who hopped in with Zombie here, if you guys are not familiar with our game, it's an indie MMO that's very much inspired by the kind of classic first generation MMOs. So EverQuest, Ultima Online, Asheron's Call, things like that. This is our website. If you wanted to check out more and learn more about the game, there's screenshots and you know, stuff about the team members and stuff like that there. We also have a Discord channel where all of our development team is in there. You know, feel free to hop in. There's over 700 people in the community now, which is awesome. We talk about, you know, game development. We talk about our game. There's all sorts of fun conversations going on in there. We also have a mailing list if you want to stay up to date but not join Discord. It's a great place to do it. Also, if you want to join us for game testing, hopefully later this year, make sure you sign up there. And then these are some of the other team members that stream. Throw them a follow if you're interested in kind of following these dev streams. And then we also have a YouTube channel if you want to get caught up on all the different streams. We post them all there like a day, you know, the next day, essentially. So I saw some messages while I was spamming those. So let me go back up. Vacation time is time to take. Is time for yourself. Do you have any plans to go outside and stare at nature? Actually, I did that 2 days ago. The weather got nice here where I am in Ohio, and me and my son went for a hike, and I was looking for uranium beach glass because we did it kind of towards the end of the night. So I brought my UV light and found some glass. Although I only found one piece, but and then we went skateboarding the next day. It's the first time we've been outdoor skateboarding this year, so that was fun. Here's the question: do we want to rise up to? Oop, this probably should be aligned more with the center point. Although this building is not necessarily to scale and may change because there's been back and forth and iterations going on with what we want to do for this building specifically. So again, this is more of a rough out to get to kind of figure out if this is how we want it to work. But yeah, definitely enjoy walking around. I need to start getting out and doing some hikes and stuff, although it's dipped back into the 40s here. So hey Nick Naylor, how's it going? More towers. Yeah, there'll be plenty of towers in here, I'm sure. Oh yeah, way too much going on. Had a huge graphics change, went from basic colors to kind of nice looking game. Now I'm working on learning proper animations and inverse kinetics. But I've been getting in progress. That's good. That's good. Definitely always fun when you make a big change like that graphically. It'll be fun as we start getting more text, like actual textures in here. Right now, this blue texture on here is just to kind of like reflect this, but it's just this old. And I hid them again. It's this old kind of like Adobe loam mud brick type texture, just desaturated and pitched into a blue vector color. But yeah, it'll be fun to see this place really come alive as we get a texture pass on the rough out, and then can come in and start actually like doing some like actual like set dressing passes with some meshes and stuff like that are beyond just kind of structural stuff. What is nature? It's that stuff that druids worship. That's what it is. And rangers are fond of. The places where rangers like to hang out. That is nature. Which is making me want to go camping, which I haven't been camping in over a year now, which is sad. Good graphics are solid. Or good graphics and solid patches recently. Yeah, I mean, we've been making progress for sure. Also making progress on some of the client facing stuff for when we eventually start getting some people in here. Oh yeah, it changes a lot. It will look great soon enough, I'm sure. Yeah, it's been progressing, which is the main thing for me. Is we're making progress, which is good. Let's actually fix this now. 2. Okay, let's do it like that. Which is probably going to throw off this walkway a bit. So maybe we'll make this just a pinch larger so that it's still kind of centered. Oh, I am at 5 snap. Let's bring this back. There we go. Now everything's nice and centered, except these are kind of all off by half a meter. And I may have to fix this at some point because somebody's going to be able to jump over here and get to areas that we don't want them to get. But for now, just kind of, I'll worry more about that kind of stuff later. Let's see. Changes a lot. Zombie go at rocks is good for the soul. Speaking of rocks, I need to actually like get some rock meshes in here. I keep telling myself that, and I just haven't done that. Here's the question: this square that we're gonna have, whether it's a square or more rounded. Actually, let me bring that back, and we'll make that a 4 snap. Regardless of how I handle this, I'm trying to think if I want to like rise up onto it or kind of go down into it and then you rise up to that. This will probably get iterated on, I'm imagining. I'm gonna... Ooh. I love when Unity does stuff like that. This is probably going to, at least for now, rise up. But I could easily see this changing. Maybe this rises up too. Make this more of a landing, because that's way too steep. Something like that. Alright, I'm gonna go grab some food and lurk. Have a good stream. Well, thanks for hanging out, Zombie. Hope your snack or dinner or whatever you're grabbing is good. So I am an NE, or I'm new to development is there some BS where Unity devs and Unreal devs have a fight like PlayStation and Xbox, or Mac versus PC? Yeah, there's probably a bit of that. Again, I'm more in the I'm working currently in Unity, but I'm solidly in the Unreal camp. I am definitely a fan of Unreal. It's a great engine. Unity's good too, but especially with Unreal 5, man, there's just so much to love about Unreal 5. Even in its, kind of preview, pre-release phase, that lighting, or the lumen lighting, is so nice for how quickly it renders. I don't want to do this, but yeah, definitely a big Unreal fanboy for sure in terms of engines. But I am here working in Unity, so I'm not exclusive. But I will admit, this is the first project I'd worked in Unity in a solid 6 or 7 years. I think no, 7 years. I said that earlier today on stream. It's been a solid 7. It had been a solid 7 years since I had really touched Unity. So there was a lot that had changed and been added. For instance, Pro Builder, I do not believe was a part of Unity back last time I used it. So one of the first things I did was kind of familiarize myself with it. And I'm glad I did, because it's really helping with the aesthetic that we're going for. To really quickly kind of prototype stuff out and get it in game. And I mean, some of this stuff will probably, end up being, final stuff, just maybe brought into Maya and decorated a little bit more or something like that, depending on what we want. Oh yeah, you are right. Paytas must duel. UE fan, then I can put away my sword. Yeah, I'm definitely a UE fan for sure. Unreal looks great, but Unity is far more user-friendly. I will disagree with that from the artist standpoint. From the artist standpoint, Unreal does a lot of stuff that Unity doesn't. And for instance, if you import something, you have to tell it to have collision. Unreal will just give you a simple collision for it, which isn't really that big of a deal. But it will auto detect what kind of compression. If it's a normal map, it just goes, oh, this is a normal map. Well, I'll give you normal map compression. There's a bunch of stuff like that. Granted, Unity now has whatchamacallit? The shader graph editor, but if you're node based, and if you think node based like I do, for a long time that you weren't able to do stuff like that in Unity, and you can do that easily in Unreal. So there's just little kind of nitpicky things. The grid system in Unity is super obnoxious to get used to, compared to Unreal's. So there are some things. I think from a programming standpoint, though, I believe Unity is a little bit easier to approach. Although I'm not judging that off of actual personal experience, so I could be completely wrong. But I mean, I can program in Unreal with like blueprints and stuff like that fairly easily. But they're easy. They each have their, like, depends on what you're doing, I guess, is the real answer there. We want to see the deep. I could pop into the deep for a minute. Nothing has really gone on in the deep for the last couple weeks because we had this rework. But we wait as stuff compiles. Hold on. Stuff was way over here. But still looks like it does. We do have plans to update the layout and play with the graphics a little bit down here at some point, but for now it's kind of what it is. But I mean, it functions and it looks pretty cool down here. But yeah, I haven't really touched it since I haven't probably touched this in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Time is flying. Absolutely flying. Let's see. BDC Retro. Simply from the art side, can you talk about what would take longer to design terrain and build the world in Unreal versus Unity? It depends on what you're doing. For what we're doing here, both of them are probably very similar in terms of how long it would take. The terrain with the Pro Builder doing the terrain like this is not something you can really do easily in Unreal, unless there's a plugin that I'm not aware of. So it would pretty much just be the Unreal terrain, which would be harder to pull off this look. You could export it out and down res it and get there, but it would be extra steps. In terms of getting some, especially if you're doing like photorealistic, Unreal is just way easier to deal with, especially if you're using Unreal 5. Unreal 5 has a system called Nanite in it that is super, super impressive. And Unity doesn't have, like, currently doesn't have an answer to it. So essentially what it does is it bakes all geometry into one draw call. So, you know, where this has like a draw call and this has a draw call and this has a draw call and this has a draw call. It's just one draw call for all your geo that's flagged for Nanite. There are some things that Nanite doesn't do well currently or just can't do yet. But all those in one draw call, and then they're super like efficiently compressed files, so they take up a much smaller space on your hard drive. The textures are what kill you. So the demo that they put out for it, like if you download the demo file, it's like 100 gigs, but the majority of that is just the texture files, which are gigantic. You know, there's like 4K text. There's like all 4K or 8K textures in there. They're stupid large textures. But you can have millions. You can have poly count doesn't really matter anymore to a degree, because you can have tons and tons and tons of triangles in your mesh, and it renders it beautifully. So at my work, the computers in the one lab that I teach in have 3070s in them, I believe. 3070 RTXs, and I can put an object in and duplicate it until I'm at like a couple billion. I think I did it up to 1 billion as a or was it 1 billion or 5 billion? As a demonstration in class. over the summer when I was doing a summer class when Unreal had just come out. I had it up to 600 billion, and it was still rendering great. It was taking more time to duplicate the meshes because I was maxing out memory when I was doing it than it was to actually like render the frames. But the I had a billion in there, and I'm running 100 frames per second easily. And then I turn off the nanite mesh on that, and I go down to like a frame every 3 seconds, where it's just like move, frame, frame, frame. And then I had to like task kill Unreal, because it can't handle normal static meshes that many polygons on it. It just dynamically decimates all the triangles in clusters, and it's just super efficient. So you can get photorealistic stuff a lot easier. That and the lighting, the lumen lighting compared to like the HDRP lighting in here, is like way more efficient, and it's got all this beautiful bounce lighting. It's super impressive. There are some drawbacks to it. There's like a little bit of latency with the update. I haven't played around with the preview, so they might have changed a little bit. But then the release that was like last week or the week before, when it went into preview mode from early access. But it's also really nice because like if I threw like an emissive on this, so it was like glowing, it would actually generate. It would actually be calculated into the global illumination, and it's all real time. So if you like move it like that, it will actually like light up the entire. It will move through the space, lighting up the space in real time. It's beautiful. So there are things like that that'll make it easier for between this game and in Unity and Unreal. It's probably about the same. I would be faster in Unreal just because I'm used to it more. I've been using it for 16 years, something like that, 15, 16 years. So I'm pretty knowledgeable when it comes to like the art side of things, and I know enough blueprinting to get myself in trouble, and get myself out of trouble, and like do pretty basic things between. Especially like art side stuff, I can change colors and make level editing tools and stuff like that with blueprints pretty easily. And I can do some like programming of systems and stuff like that. Obviously, they're probably not like pro level, but again, I can get enough done in Unreal to get by. Unreal. When I was deciding what engine to learn, the fact that Unreal uses C++ and I have some local friends that can just can look over and correct my mistakes is what made me my mistakes. I made a play and decided the role to choose because they code in the same language. Yeah, that definitely is helpful. If you have friends that know a language that can help you out if you get stuck on something, that definitely makes sense to choose one or the other. I don't remember when I started learning Unreal if Unity was free at that point or not. I think it was, but it was also a lot of the game engines back then were fairly hefty entry level prices, especially for a college student. So that was part of the reason why I started with Unreal, was because I could just go and mod Unreal Tournament or Gears of War or something like that. I wish I could wrap myself um, into nodes. My brain just won't accept it. I love working in nodes. It my brain works so much better seeing like how everything flows. I'm just visual. And being dyslexic, reading is not always my favorite thing to do. And I have so many issues when I was learning like action script and stuff back in college. Which yeah, that dates me a bit at this point. But yeah, just syntax and stuff. I had nightmares with back in the day. So I really do enjoy visual scripting because I get the logic. It's a lot of the syntax and stuff like that that would drive me crazy back in the day when I did do a little bit of that type of stuff. You know what? I don't think this is all using world space. Oh, you know what? This is at an angle. That's what's going on. Let's move that. Or actually, let's move that and that. And again, this type of stuff is going to be on, you know, pieces of land or standing on stilts or standing on, you know, base pieces of this blue-ish rock, whatever we decide to. Oh, that does not look good. Let's do something more like this. Will it be that dark? What are you talking about, Lord Sacrum? With something being dark? I would think having photorealistic games, our game world and character models would take longer to design. Yeah, so that's one of the saving graces with this project and our ability to actually do it and complete it is definitely the fact that we are not going for hyperrealism. Even though like I'm more comfortable in like a realistic style. You can see I did this as this M1 Garand was a like a I basically did it 2 years ago about this time, or maybe like in a week or two when the lockdowns initially happened for COVID. That was kind of my okay, I'm gonna keep myself busy since I'm just sitting here in Discord teaching class and waiting for questions. So I was kind of just working on this for 2 weeks or so. So I'm more comfortable, I guess, personally in a photorealistic style, but it takes a lot more work. Granted, if you're using Unreal, you get access to the Megascans for free. So you have, a bunch of like Megascanned or Megascans photo scanned whatchamacallits, materials and photogrammetry models and stuff. But so does everybody else. So, it kind of comes down to a lot of that stuff will be seen in a lot of games at this point. But if you're trying to do something that's really photorealistic, and want to do it pretty quickly, Unreal is definitely good at that type of stuff. Unreal is actually, being used for TV shows and stuff at this point. The first season of Mandalorian, a lot of the backgrounds that you see, that's all Unreal Engine. Projected onto a bunch of screens that are bent around here. Let me see. ILM the volume. So they have this big giant. Is there a picture of the whole thing? So you can kind of see the outside of it. So it's this giant 3D space. This might not be ILMs, but it's all these curved LED monitors, and they can put the actors into environments that are done in Unreal. Although I think in season 2, I think they made their own proprietary engine. I don't know if it was based off of Unreal or not, but you can use that and put those photorealistic real-time environments, project them all around and above, and you get two things. You get an immersive experience for the actors as they're walking through. They see what's around them. You can be like, follow that, look at that ship, watch it, and then watch it explode and react to the explosion, and they can literally just watch that happen. You get that, but you also get the lighting from it actually lights and helps light the scene. So you don't have to worry about in post matching those, matching the lighting to the green screen. There is a little bit of stuff you have to do in post, I think, like with kind of the borders and stuff and getting those out. But it's a lot easier. It's a lot less work color matching the lighting to the CG background when you have a volume, is what they call it, projecting light into the scene. So that's kind of some game-changing tech for sure when it comes to film and commercials and stuff like that. And there's a bunch of other companies now that are putting out volumes and stuff like that as well for a lot of commercial shoots and stuff like that are now starting to use that kind of tech. I've never played Gears of War because it was on PlayStation it wasn't on PlayStation until last year. I didn't even know it was on PlayStation now. Sack was asking about the Mushroom Cave. Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Thanks, Nick. So it's gonna be dark. Right now that space is very open, so it's deceivingly open. It doesn't look like it, but it's because of the darkness. We're gonna probably redesign the whole layout of it and play around with the lighting, so it'll be dark, but there'll be enough light that you can kind of see where things are, points of interest to pull you on. And then the colors will probably be more like there'll be an area that's more of the pink mushrooms and an area that's more of the green mushrooms, and then there might be little pops of color here and there of the other ones, but you'll be able to kind of use that to kind of guide yourself around the zone a little bit better. Because right now it's kind of more evenly placed. And we've kind of decided we want to go with that route. So it will be dark because we do want to play with that. But I don't think it's going to be so dark that you're not. It's not going to be just running around in pitch black. You will be able to kind of navigate based off like the shrooms and the lighting and stuff like that. But that right now for the next, well, I'm not going to say. almost got it out of me. For the foreseeable, or maybe not for foreseeable future, that makes it sound a lot longer than it actually is. But for the next bit, I'll be working in Night Harbor. And for right now, I'm going to pull this forward because I don't have a way to get back up onto that if I fall. So let's pop over into the game itself. When when they are filming, are they using an image capture from the panels in the show, or are they still capturing it separately? I think they capture it separately as well. If you actually look at for instance, this scene, you can see the LED screen updates based on where the camera is, or I'm imagining if they need something as a reaction shot, like that would be as well. But I believe it is also recording the camera motion. You can see up there, there's little IR trackers, kind of. Well, you guys can't see them, but I've got IR trackers for VR up above my head. But similar to that, so it's tracking the camera position, and it keeps that area updated more than the areas that are not on there. I do believe, though, if I remember correctly from one of the making of videos I was listening to about this, I think ILMs, I think it's like 75. It's either 75 feet. I don't think it's 75 yards. I think it's 75 feet across the space. But it has like 7 workstations hooked up to it. And they're all kind of linked together to render out the scene because the scene is so complex. But that was also, I think, before Unreal 5. That was a good thing I put that there because that would have been bad. That would have been like, oh shoot. Yeah, Nick with the Dark Levels. I was a PlayStation user. I was a Sega user. Well, I take it back. I was an Atari user, and then I was a Atari computer user, and then I was a Sega user, and then I went to PC, and then PlayStation, then Xbox, and then PlayStation 2, but I never actually owned one. My roommate had one, and then my ex-wife had one, and then I bought a 360 for that generation, and I currently have a PS4. Probably gonna bite the bullet and get the PS5 since the KOTOR remake. I need to not be running around with GM speed on. The KOTOR remake is gonna be a PS5 exclusive, and I'm a huge fan of the original KOTOR, so really excited to get that or play that. So I will probably break down and get a PS5. But I am primarily PC based. My kids play the PS4 more than I do. So I kind of see some of these views. Again, this layout is definitely subject to change. The only area I know is we need a square that's got some like kind of governmental buildings that'll be kind of larger and taking up more space. There will probably be some, buildings and stuff that are more down here as well. Ooh, that's a nice view. Pay this question. For the future, do you think that Eminem will be able to be played on VR. I do not believe we have any plans to do VR for M&M. I think Sean has mentioned if we are if like we end up becoming commercially successful with this, potentially doing like a VR game as a secondary thing, because I think Sean has VR as well. I'm a huge fan of VR. I was actually kind of working on a couple smaller VR projects just for fun and you know, learning process and stuff like that. Like I wanted to do kind of like a crafting game and stuff like that. This is kind of starting to work. Although I definitely need more variation in the entrances. So, you know, maybe some of the buildings you're entering over here or over here, that type of thing. Maybe ones that are mirrored so they go the other direction. I mean, I could mirror this very easily, but still having other entrances and exits so they're not all having to be entered from the same direction that, like, you know, the balconies necessarily are looking. Although this could be a kind of cool shot. Let's see. Time set 6 p.m. Oops. Time set 6 p.m. No! 5 p.m. But yeah, I don't think M&M, at least the main M&M game. I don't know what if we get into VR, if it would be M&M based or something else. I don't believe there's no plans to do VR in it. I miss wacky Sega games. I do too. My kids actually hooked up my Sega a couple weeks ago, and we're playing some of them. Surprisingly, still works all these years later. I'll just wait for the PC ports now. I finally have a decent machine. Yeah, for the most part, that's what I do too. Unless it's something the kids want to play. That's kind of a cool view. Pretty. And now it's gonna get dark. Those blue buildings, would they be scaled down a little for humans to look out? In first person, you can't see out. So, set 6 a.m. So for this one, you know, it's pretty good. There's 2 versions of these buildings, and I don't remember which one this is. I wasn't paying attention. This one might be the one. Alright, so this one, these are more kind of like skylights that are just lighting up the space. You can see out them, but they're not, you know, perfectly, they're the perfect height for a human. The answer that me and Sean were playing with was potentially keeping those as skylights for most of it to let light in, but kind of having this raised up platform that makes it more of an area that you can, you know, potentially look out of. So you kind of get this little half height in here. Could also potentially just have, you know, that other version as well that has, you know, the floor bumped up as well. But we're kind of, you know, playing around with that, seeing what we like. But I do like this kind of split level look. Kind of throw some furniture and stuff in here. If it was player housing. And then, you know, some of this stuff would be more decorative. I don't know what we want to do with the dome up here. If we want, you know, have some sort of image or something or pattern design on that. But again, super placeholdery in terms of materials for now. As we, you know, work on kind of getting the flow down. So there'll probably be some stuff down on this lower level as well. And then this might need to be a slightly larger for the square. And then we need to figure out what these kind of larger government buildings are going to look like. And then we need to really lock in on what this is going to be. In terms of, you know, how it looks and stuff like that. Because we've been kind of going off different ideas. But the feeling is starting to kind of get there. I'm going to just throw for now, because those buildings are just kind of floating there. I'm just going to throw some columns underneath them. Excuse me. So let's make this 12 by 12. And like 8-sided. Oop, come on. 4 by 12. Let's make this 20 by 20. It'd help if I actually remembered what I made the scale of this building at. I was like half asleep last night when I scaled it. Alright, so let's do 25 by 25. Oop, not 225, that's gigantic. 25. We'll do this like 15. And I'm just going to throw these around just to have something for these to stand on. There we go. And then we'll just throw one of these materials on there. And we'll make it use world space and we'll scale it up. So again, super placeholdery, but now these things won't be floating in the air any longer. Let me center that. And again, this stuff will get more thought out as the rough out keeps continuing. The lips are getting super chapped. Oh, but I'm almost at the end of my stream time, so I'll just do that in a couple minutes. Finish hanging out with you fine people first. Okay, so let's play with these a bit. Well, this. There we go. Play with. Probably some of these are overlapping a little bit weirdly, so. Oops. Alright, this will just make more sense to do it this way. There we go. That one's doing it too. There we go. Okay, a little bit more cleaned up. Let me just move this over here. Uh, 180. So we can have something that's more on that ground level to see what it looks like. Again, super rough right now. Let's see, missed some chats. Let's go buildings. Yep, we read that one. Oh, I see on the steps. You can see, yeah, the little steps on some of them. Some of the other ones you can't, but for sure. What about M&M 2? M&M Online Adventures? Oh, and M&M next. And M&M, we gotta have M&M Mobile. There's all sorts of versions we gotta get out. Okay, yeah, that works for now. Again, you know, this will be a process of kind of playing around with how we want this to feel. And then, like I said, the scale in this area may need some work. There may even be some sort of like rock structure that this square is on, or maybe, you know, part of it's built onto it, and then, you know, probably more housing and stuff kind of along this way. I'm assuming we'll probably do more housing kind of tucked around it, more of the kind of governmental buildings kind of built around here. We got to figure out what those are going to look like. And then, again, yeah, more housing and stuff like that. Maybe even some of the governmental building type stuff and shops and stuff could even be on the lower areas as well. But that's kind of what I wanted to at least start to kind of get the feel of. For anybody who joined late, let me turn this off. I can give you guys a tour of kind of what was going on this weekend besides building, you know, these kind of basic structures, which also I had built first this version, which let me color it the same as the other ones. So I built this one first, and it just was a little smoother than I think we wanted. So I did a slightly lower poly, kind of chunkier looking one. And I think we decided to go with this version. So, ooh, that one had a weird patch that I apparently had a different material selected. Anyways, so I did that, and then obviously kind of re-roughed in the shapes based off of a lot of the stuff we were doing on Sean's stream on Thursday. And then, you know, so I pushed these areas down, and then kind of pulled out this little area right here, based off of one of Goblin's paintings he did from that. So pulled this out and kind of made these little recessed areas. So I kind of went with that, and then it actually lined up perfectly that this passageway that Ham had kind of written about in the lore, and is going to have more stuff kind of happening off to the side eventually, is it lined up perfectly right there. So that was one of those like, oh yeah, it worked. Like I didn't have to like fight and get stuff to go where it needed to. It was just turned out that way, which is awesome when that kind of stuff happens. And then earlier on the stream, I kind of pushed these in here to give the second tier a little bit more space. So we've got tier 2 is going to be over here. We could technically stick some tier 2 stuff up here. Technically, could probably stick some like shops or something up here if we really wanted to. And then tier 2 also be all over in this area. And then this is going to be more of the like spellcaster area, I believe. And then I fixed this stuff that we worked on stream, where I pulled out this shoreway, but the shore was really messed up down here before, so now it's a little bit more of a better flow. And I took this and made it its own kind of island. It took the island and kind of made it a little bit more grand, so it kind of rises up a bit now and gets the lighthouse, which again we need to actually figure out what the design is going to be. That's a super quick placeholder-y one that I built, but it's now kind of part of that way off in the distance skyline. Probably even afford to get up a little bit higher, but I think I'm going to move it out a little bit as well. So did that and kind of played around a little bit more with the geo for the ground and brought the harbor out and stuff like that. So that was pretty much what I was doing the last couple days. But last week was a pretty busy, hectic week with midterms at work. Oh, excuse me. The dono will be made of gold and reflect the sun. Oh, the dome up there. So that's one of the things we are kind of going back and forth on. Do we want it to be this large dome? Do we want it to be more of a kind of this ziggurat style with a dome on top? We're having some back and forth, and we're trying to lock in on what that design is going to be. So right now it's just kind of the placeholder that you guys saw us using on Thursday, or something very similar to it anyways. I think I played around with it just a little bit. But there's definitely a larger kind of like palace temple structure that's going to be here. And my guess is it's probably going to be its own zone eventually. I don't know if we'll keep it as, I don't know if we'll build it into Night Harbor or how we want to handle that, but eventually something will be done with this in terms of gameplay. The reflecting of the sun, I don't know if we'll do something like that, even if it is gold. Sean doesn't like the shiny aesthetic, so we've been using it very limitedly. Obviously, it's being used in the water, but for the most part, we're trying to shy away from using too much of a roughness map or anything like that. So we'll see. And if we decided to be gold, maybe I'll make a version of it with it to see if we like it, or if we prefer it just to be kind of painted in. That isn't too hard to make the variation on that. Take a couple minutes. But why the other one look awesome and soft? So soft. So the reason this one looks soft and this one doesn't. So this one has hard edges on the normal, and this one does not. So it's just the way the normals are on, and this one is currently I did a softened smooth group on that one. So when you have the normal softened, it tricks the geometry basically into seeing the edges as smooth and making it look like when you're looking straight on at it, like there's more geometry. So this edge is a hard edge, And then this edge right here is actually soft. So this could actually have an edge going across and look more like a golf ball, essentially. So you can kind of pick and choose what you want with that. Who has Sean pop up? It says make that's Zukin. Too shiny and make it chunkier, which is how this came up this morning, was a make it chunkier compared to the version it's deleted. So that was the original one, which hit, you know, pretty well on the initial concept, especially when it's blue. So again, you know, texture is placeholdery, but it's still kind of got the feeling and the proportions down pretty close. But we played around with this, and we think we're gonna go with this one. Felt like that other one was just getting too rounded and kind of not hitting that old school aesthetic we were looking for. That one is awesome. The blue houses. Use both. Are you talking about the one I just pulled out, the really smooth one? You like that one? They both work pretty well. Although I did not catch that I have some issues over there. Yeah, you like these ones? I think more smooth things like this will probably end up being like larger ones. Because I think when something's larger, we want it to have more polygons. Because as it gets larger, even like the larger the polygons get larger, and it just ends up feeling chunkier anyways. That's already kind of getting that feeling that Goblin had with the larger dome. Something like that. But again, it's gonna be kind of playing around, you know, figuring out how we want the flow to actually be in here a little bit more. But this is already starting to kind of feel a little bit like this. We need obviously this stuff underneath. You know, these paths need to be curved more. Right now they're super rough. And then kind of some of this little like hanging garden stuff kind of coming off the walls in places. Looks like the dome of the cathedral. Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? Or when it's really large, because it's white, it almost reminds me of like the dome of the Capitol building without the little like thing on top of it. The statues. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna call it a night, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. Actually, I should probably do my housekeeping. What you just did would look great with the really large one. Yeah, we're gonna have to play around with it. We'll probably do it in a huddle at some point where we're kind of talking through everything, where everybody can see it here, and I can be playing around with it to really lock in. I don't know if we'll do it on a stream or not, but I'm imagining we'll probably do a little bit of by committee, like how do we want this to feel? Is this working? That type of thing. With the little arches. Yeah, the arches are gonna, I think, look cool under here, and then the little bit of greenery and stuff, and that's in this space too, playing off the kind of, you know, beige sandy old stonework here. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. I'm really excited to see how this whole area kind of comes together. But for the housekeeping stuff, for anybody who is not familiar with our game, we are making an indie MMO that is based, or is not based, but it's very influenced by the first generation MMOs from like the late 90s, early 2000s. So think EverQuest, Ultima Online, Asheron's Call, Age of Camelot, those games. That link right there is for our website. So if you wanted to go there, there's screenshots. A lot of the stuff you guys have seen on stream right now is newer stuff, so there might not be screenshots of that. You'll see some of the older the older versions of this zone that is being rebuilt. But you can learn about the team and kind of what our game is and what we're trying to do. This next link is our Discord. So if you guys wanted to join our community, we've got over 700 people in that now. We have also, discussions and stuff about game design. All the devs are in there. So, join on, come in and talk to us, have some fun. Pretty cool community we got going. If you don't want to join the Discord, but you do want to keep up to date with what's going on, I just put the mailing list, so feel free to join that. Occasionally, we'll send out like a survey to kind of get some feedback from the community on things that you guys are excited about or we want input on. And we will it'll also tie into game tests, which we are hoping to get some public-facing game testing in by the end of the year. So if you're interested in participating in that, make sure to join the mailing list. These are the other streamers on the team. Sean's the living robot, and he does kind of like overviews of progress that's been made on the team. We do game testing on his streams. We've done a couple of the like team meetings, like team huddles, and kind of how our showing kind of how our design process is when we're thinking through stuff and kind of the back and forth and stuff we do as a team design wise. So we do some of those on there. Zukin does character art and critters, some animation, texturing, that type of stuff. Goblin does streams for concept art. I think he's done a couple for animation. He does a little bit of everything, honestly. He does modeling and animation and rigging and all sorts of other stuff. But I think mostly his streams have been concept art. Nick, I think he's going to start streaming again this week and doing some Q&A stuff. Or Q&A or design work. So check out his streams. Ali hasn't actually streamed that on Twitch yet, but he had put up a series on our YouTube channel. Nice transition there. So if you guys want to get caught up on some of the past streams, all of our development streams are on there. Again, there's a lot of streams going up, a lot of content. So if you guys enjoy learning about game development and kind of just learning about our game and our thought process on stuff, make sure to go to the YouTube and like and subscribe and comment below if you're watching on YouTube. All helps us out with the algorithm, and we appreciate all the follows here on Twitch, all the subs and stuff on Twitch. Always appreciated. Don't feel obligated to subscribe or donate to my channel or anything like that. But everything like that is appreciated. Everything's all this. So, the subscriptions on YouTube and stuff is definitely appreciated. This is kind of how right now we're getting the word out. So, all those little things definitely helps us appease the algorithm gods to push the content out to more people that are like-minded and like MMOs and EverQuest and things like that. So thank you very much for hanging out with me, guys. Really appreciated it. Let me catch up on the last couple chats. Also, saying chats. If you are watching the VODs through YouTube, and that's how you found us, and you want to participate in the chats, my Twitch handle is Hades the Ranger, and there should be a link to it in the description down below. So if you want to hop in to our live chats and hang out and participate, you're more than welcome to. Just throw the channel a follow. And then I stream Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I stream Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I keep saying I'm going to do bonus streams on the weekends. I'm going to try to get a bonus stream in probably during the weekday this week as well, since I have more free time. Maybe Friday? I think there's so many people streaming now. I don't want to conflict with anybody else's streams. So let me go up and start looking at this stuff. I'm in for beta tests, or in for beta tester. Awesome. What's Sean say when he looks at his head in the mirror? Too shiny. I didn't say that, Sean. It was Nick Naylor. But mine's that way too. I always wore beanies anyways, but my beanie hides my cue ball head, or partly cue ball head, that would cause all sorts of lovely reflections off of the lights. But awesome stream, Paytas. Thank you. Following all of you closely, you guys are doing an awesome job. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate all the support, and yeah, hopefully we can get you guys in and doing some community facing tests every now and then later this year. Read the joke. Already done. Thank you. All right, guys. With that, I am gonna end it. Again, thanks for hanging out with me. One more message from Lord Sacrum. Hey man, when you extend the blue house dome and put them on top of the temple, looks awesome with the little arches. Yeah, thank you. And thank you, turning cog for the follow. All right, guys. This time I'm actually out. See you guys Wednesday. Later.